Hey everybody, welcome back to another awesome episode, Coffee with Tracey. I am your host, Tracey Osborne. Today, Lisa Danforth and I are going to be talking about another one of my favorite subjects, overwhelm. You guys know I could talk about this all day long because we all get there. We all hit that point at one point in time in our business or in our lives. So this is a topic that I don't think we can talk about enough. How to get out of overwhelm, how to stay out of overwhelm, what to do when that feeling just really strikes. So let me tell you a little bit about Lisa, and then we're going to get going. So Lisa Danforth is a business strategist, and as a business strategist, her mission is to help women entrepreneurs create financial independence and security through a passion-based business. Lisa helps women take their business to the next level by creating a clear vision, strong strategy, and sustainable action plan. Working together, Lisa shows women how to create their vision, establish their goals, and strategically get into action so they can work less, enjoy life more, and be more profitable. That is like just a win-win scenario there, right?
It is.
All right. So overwhelmed. We all get there at some point in time. But how do we get there? What is it about us that it's like we can't say no. And next thing you know, we're drowning.
Right. Absolutely. And as entrepreneurs, and especially as women, I really focus on working with women entrepreneurs because I think that brings a whole other dynamic. A mom, a lot of the women that I work with are moms. And we were brought up to please and to be the good girl, a lot of us.
Right.
So then we want to take everything on and we don't want to disappoint anyone. So what we wind up doing is adding a little bit more to our plate and a little bit more to our plate because we think we can do it. And then we're really setting ourselves up for failure and just feeling poorly about ourselves because we can't get to everything. It's one of the key components that I really work on with my clients is a time management piece so that they know how many hours they really have in a day. So when you're scheduling 12 hours of work into an 8-hour day, now you know why you're overwhelmed and you're like, okay, I can't do that. I simply can't. And then you can set yourself up for success.
Oh, absolutely. So one of my favorite things to tell people is, create your daily to-do list. But when you're creating that to-do list, put a time estimate next to each task. How long do you think this is going to take you? And when I started doing that, it was like, holy crap, no wonder I can't ever get anything done. I have like 15 hours worth of work and I have a 6-hour window. Oh my God. So that really helps you to manage your time and figure out, okay, what really has to get done today and what can I push off until tomorrow or next week?
Right. Prioritizing is just so key. You've got to back up just a sec, what I really work on with the clients in the beginning is getting clarity on exactly where they want to go. Because before you can even create that plan, that strategy, and the time management piece, you really need to know where you're going. You need to have that clarity of vision of what your end result is, what the business is that you want, and the lifestyle that you want. Because as entrepreneurs, they're not mutually exclusive. We have this big vision of the business that we want, but we don't think of how it's going to impact our lifestyle. So that once you get that clarity, then you can really start segmenting out, okay, so Tuesdays and Thursdays, I'm going to do content creation, and I'm setting aside X amount of hours for that specifically. And then, like you said, setting a timer is so great because it gives you the parameters. You're like, gosh, I thought I could really get this done, like you said, in 2 hours, but I'm not even halfway through. And then you start feeling like a failure and that you're not quite committed enough. And how come you can't do it? It should be simple.
Sure. How big of a role do you think distractions play in us getting overwhelmed?
Huge.
I know the answer to this one. But
Oh, distractions are huge. I read a statistic recently that's something like we, on average, are interrupted every 11 minutes. And then it takes us 25 minutes to actually get back into the groove of where we were at when we got interrupted. So now if you figure that into just an 8-hour day, it's a wonder that we get anything done.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So distractions are huge. I recommend, do you do this? Just shutting down Facebook, turning off your email.
My email is set so that it doesn't notify me. I don't get the pop-ups when I get new emails. Because otherwise I find that we become like Pavlov's dog. And as soon as we get that pop-up, we're running to our inbox. Oh my God, what is it? What is it? Oh, it's just another newsletter. And now you've been distracted and you have to get back on course. So yeah, I turn that off. If it's, my team and I communicate through Skype a lot. So if it gets to be a day where they're just really driving me crazy, bombarding me with constant messages, and I have to get something done, I will shut that down. I will shut down. I close out Facebook completely. I do most of my Facebooking on my phone anyway.
Yeah.
So that way it's before work, after work, when I'm out and about. It's not necessarily during the workday. I mean, I'll check in during the workday, but I try to really not stay off of it. Because I'll get lost.
Yeah, it's really easy. There's a great article. There's a cute meme. The friend just got married, or whatever it might be, and it's so easy to get distracted. I recommend actually setting time, checking your Facebook at 2 to 3 times a day, and actually setting a timer, 10 or 15 minutes.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. That's a really good one. What do you think about the whole the Pomodoro technique? Setting a timer for every 20 minutes to work on your task work.
And then get up and move?
Get up and move, move on to something else. I like that if somebody has a project or something that they find that they keep procrastinating because it's something they don't want to do, or it just feels daunting and overwhelming, that's one of the things I'll recommend. I'll say, set a timer for 20 minutes. Just work on it for 20 minutes. Do 20-minute chunks at a time. And most often they'll find once they get in there and they do that first 20 minutes, they get that momentum and keep going.
Yeah, it's kind of like, how do you eat an elephant?
One bite at a time.
One bite at a time.
Yep.
Yeah, and our mindset is a really big piece in the procrastination. It's a really big piece in our distractions, that if we have this big project in front of us, or this one that we're uncomfortable, we're not quite sure if we know exactly what we're doing, it's amazing what our mind can do to us, that mind chatter that kicks in. And that's when, the laundry's calling, especially as, moms that are working from home, you got to clean the grout on the shower, all of those things that you wouldn't normally want to do. But it's the mind chatter that kind of draws you away from the work at hand, because we feel like we're not capable of actually completing the work, or we're scared of doing the work and putting ourselves out there and being perceived as not knowing our stuff, or having the information that we're putting out there flopping. So it's a little bit easier to stay busy with what looks like a very large task within our business, but it's not actually moving us closer to our goal.
Right.
It's keeping us very busy, and it makes us look like we're busy and feel like we're busy, but it's actually not getting us closer to the work that we need to be doing in order to create that life that we want.
Absolutely. And I find in the virtual assistant world, a lot of times when a virtual assistant starts procrastinating on something, 9 times out of 10, it's because they haven't been given enough direction, and they're confused, and they're embarrassed to go ask for more help. So just a little tip, if your VA seems to be procrastinating on something, just reach out and say, hey, do you have all the information you need? Are you clear? Do you have questions? Because chances are they're probably confused, and they don't even know where to really get started. So.
And they don't want to be perceived as not knowing what to do.
Exactly.
The same goes for us.
Done that.
Yeah, I mean, exactly. The same goes for us with our own work that we're doing.
Yeah.
We don't want to actually admit that we don't know what it is. I like to use the word curiosity. I find that when we can approach anything that's in front of us that's not working, or that's kind of stumbling, with pure curiosity and no judgment, it's amazing what the answers that can pop up. When you can pull away I call it that veil of judgment. Because how can you approach that overwhelm that's in front of you? How can you approach this huge obstacle that's in front of you when you have a mindset of judgment about it, of the way that you should be doing something or shouldn't be doing something, that you can actually see it clearly enough to be able to really, be on task. Okay, so this is what's coming up. This is why it's coming up, and this is what I need to do. When you can do that with no judgment, it's amazing how fast those obstacles just disappear. The overwhelm sort of really minimizes, because you're able to do what it takes without judgment. We should all over ourselves constantly, and it doesn't help us.
Took me a second to catch that one.
Should.
Like that. We do. I never thought of it that way, but yeah, you were so right. We do constantly. God, I should be doing this. I should be doing that. I should have done it this way. I should have done it that way.
And here's what pops up a lot of it, because we should be doing it because it's easy. And here's something that I find with all of the entrepreneurs that I work with. We start with this passion and we're excited and this tenacity, and then we start getting bogged down into the work of it. And it should be easy, but what's easy what's simple shouldn't be easy. So it's very simple to, smoking. It's not good for you. You really shouldn't do it. It's very simple, right? And it's
Right.
not easy. It's not easy to quit.
Right.
Now we all know that it's very simple to be healthy. We consume less calories, we exercise, we sleep well, but it's not particularly easy. So when things are easy and we're not able to do it, that's when we start beating ourselves up with, well, why can't you do that? It's really simple.
What
And
is
then it's
that?
a vicious cycle.
There's a quote that I see all the time. It's something, I'm probably going to butcher it a little bit, but it's something along the lines, anything worth doing or anything anything worth doing isn't necessarily going to be easy, or something along those
Anything
lines.
worth doing is worth doing badly in the beginning.
Oh, I like that one too.
Right. Yeah.
But basically, it's this road that we're on. Anybody who comes into starting a business thinking, "Oh, this is going to be a breeze, total piece of cake," you're delusional. I'm sorry. You're very delusional. Let me tell you how reality is.
You're in a happy bubble because you're starting.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's like dating. It's like, oh, this relationship is a breeze. It's so exciting. It's fresh. It's new. It's sexy. It's, oh my God, it's work.
Oh my God, I got to pick up his socks. Yeah.
I have to work. I mean, I can't just work whenever I want to. And now I actually have to, yeah. I think we all kind of sometimes come into this with a little air of delusion.
I think we need to be honest with you. We have to have
Yeah.
some sort of delusion, because if we knew how difficult it was going to be, there would be fewer people who actually attempt it. They say that
True.
I think it's 85% of people allow the fear of failure to get in the way of their success.
Wow.
So that fear of failing, because it is so difficult and because there are so many balls in the air, actually stop people from stepping into their greatness, because they already have set themselves up for failure. If I do this, this could happen, so I'm just going to stay here in the comfortable zone. And I like to say we will never find our zone of genius, our greatness, within our comfort zone.
And failure is, it's not failure. It's just okay, this didn't work. It's like that quote, Thomas Edison didn't fail to make the light bulb 10,000 times. He just found 10,000 ways it didn't work. Right?
I use that quote all the time. And failing forward. We fail.
Failing forward.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. If you're going to fail forward.
Yeah, you look at absolutely, or talk to absolutely any business person, no matter how multimillionaire they are or just the ones starting out, we all make mistakes. That is how you learn. And it's very arrogant for us to think that we're going to go into business and not screw up and be able to just do it and make it look perfectly. So it's when you can, again, quiet that mind chatter, the mindset that we have. What is the quote? I love it. It's Nicholas. In order to succeed, we must first believe that we can.
Oh, I like that.
Isn't that? I love that one. And it's so true, because we do need to believe that we can, or else we have one foot on land and one foot on the boat.
That goes right along with that Henry Ford quote. Whether you think you can or you think you can't, you're right.
Right.
So
yeah.
You've got some strategies to kind of help keep us out of overwhelm or get us out of overwhelm. So tell us a little bit about that. I'm buried, I'm drowning. What do I do?
Yeah, and that's really the hard part, because if someone's buried and drowning, doing anything is overwhelming, and they feel like they can't pull themselves away from their business to even gain clarity on what they want to be doing. And that really is the hardest part when I work with some of the entrepreneurs that are just in complete overwhelm. But the way I kind of like to phrase it is, it's like shoving a square peg into a round hole. You just keep doing it, and it's not working. So the key is to really just slow down for a moment and just say, okay, what are 3 things that I could do now, today, that's going to move me closer to my goal? And so at least that way, and just put 3 things down. Don't sit there and write a 47-piece list and then try to pick the ones out. Just really, 3 things that you could do that could move you closer to your goal. And just doing those is going to allow you to feel successful. It's going to allow you to lift your head up and move forward. The key to everything is to gain clarity. Like I said back in the beginning, know your why. We want to know the how before we know our why. But when we know our why of why we do things, what our mission is and why we're here, the how becomes apparent. The how is just shown to us. So we're pushing on the how, but we don't even know why we're doing it or why it's important for us. So to slow down and just figure out what is it that you want your business and lifestyle. Again, they're not mutually exclusive when you're an entrepreneur,
right?
You're a business person. What is it that you want your business and lifestyle to look like, and gain clarity on that, so that you know how to back out of it and structure your day and your week in order to create that success. Because if you don't know the goal, how do you know whether you've made it, missed it, or you're 2 feet from the goal? So again, very, very simple, but not necessarily very easy. What I do is I'll sit down with my clients and we'll create a wish list of everything that they want. And then I back out and we do a 90-day, a 1-year, and a 3-year goal. I do the 90-day because what that will do is actually get them into action. As opposed to a 1-year goal, which it's amazing how fast 6 months can go by and you haven't actually even started. Yeah. So what I do is, again, the 90-day, 1-year, 3-year. Okay. Then I take the 90 days and break them down to 3 different 30-day. And then I break down each 30-day at the beginning of the 30 days and break them down into weeks. So starting with a 90-day, and then you have the 30 days, 60, and then the 90. And then each one of those 30 days I break down into weekly schedule. So you're clear on what you're doing and when you're going to be doing it. So for me, I actually go into the Excel spreadsheet and I'll create a calendar for my clients and color code it. And I'll have them post it so that they know are they doing content creation? Are they working with clients? Are they doing admin? Are they doing marketing? Are they doing networking? Whatever it might be, so that they can literally see it and know what they need to be doing. Because, as we know, distractions come in from every different angle, that when you catch yourself, oh, wait a minute, I'm not supposed to be doing this. You can look up and really simple, just be like, okay, I'm supposed to be working on marketing right now.
Okay. It sounds a little daunting. When you think of a 3-year goal and then you're breaking it down into 2 weeks, for me, that almost instantly put me into overwhelm.
Right. But that's what I'm saying is sort of taking it and just plopping it in. But you're only working on a 90-day. That's all you're working from. And it can be overwhelming, but what happens is I'll sit down with my clients for 2 hours and we'll do this. That's my initial meeting with my clients. Is I call it a discovery session. And it's literally 2 hours, and they walk away with an actual plan. And tell me, would you be willing to invest 2 hours to actually have a clear path and a clear plan of what you're planning, intending on doing over the next 90 days?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. You have to be crazy not to.
Right. So it's kind of like, how do you eat an elephant? 1 bite at a time, like we just said. How do you know what you need to do if you don't actually slow down and plan it out? I'm not saying that you have to plan out each individual detailed moment over the next 90 days. You're literally plopping, I want to create a free gift within the next 90 days for my clients to opt into.
Okay, that makes sense. So, yeah, that makes sense. My mind is like, with the whole, you know me, because I take that big goal and I'm already breaking it down. So, my mind is like, okay, well, we've got to figure out what the freebie is, and we have to create the autoresponders, and there's 3 to 5 nurture sequence. What is the upsell? So my mind is already going into all the little teeny tiny. That's why I was like, God, 3 years. That's just like my mind just went.
No, you just literally plop it in. And then so at the end of the 90 days, then you create another 90 days, and then you create another 90 days. And that's the
more
key.
manageable.
This is why working with a coach, to sit there and they take your big vision and they keep it up for you to look at and continually point you back to that as you start kind of going off track. It's like, oh no, this is where you wanted to go, right? Or if it's not, let's look at someplace else. But to be able to have someone sit with you and tease it out so that you can walk away. Every time I do this with a client, it's like their shoulders drop 4 inches. Because we create this humongous vision, and then it's complete fuzziness and overwhelm. So when you're looking at, okay, what do you want to do? The free gift, you want to have it done by 90 days. So you've got to have the autoresponders done by an X date. You have to have the gift done by an X date. But just plopping those in to your schedule.
Yeah. When you have that big picture goal, then it's easier to break it down into a 90-day section and say, okay, now we can really detail it out backwards.
Right.
And delegate. That's my favorite word.
we
as a VA, as a virtual assistant, that is my favorite word, delegate.
Delegate. And that is a really tough thing for entrepreneurs. Have you found that what I hear is, I don't even know what I would delegate?
I hear that all the time. And I talk about it all the time. And, and honestly, even though I'm a virtual assistant and I have a team doing, my stuff from my coaching business and, that kind of thing, but, I have that VA background. I find that I am just as guilty as my clients not wanting to delegate. And when I start getting into that overwhelm myself, it's like, oh, I'm doing all this stuff that I have no business having my hands into because it is not directly tied in with bringing an income. I have no business doing this stuff. It's got to get done, just not by me.
Right. So you can make X dollar amount per hour, and you could pay somebody probably at least half that, or less than half. Yeah, in order to do it. And that's when I can wrap their heads around, okay, so you're charging $50, $100, $250 an hour, but you could hire an assistant for between $20 and $50 an hour.
Right.
You're actually making a lot more money by handing it off. But again, you need to have the clarity of the direction that you're going to even know what to hand off, because you could be handing something off that really shouldn't be worked on for another week until something else is done.
Right. And that's really important. I tend to tell people, especially when they're first trying to figure out how to work with a virtual assistant, how to get started with that, is to, shadow yourself around for 2 days to a week. And every 20 minutes, set that timer, every 20 minutes, write down what you did in that time block. That's going to tell you, number one, where you're losing a lot of time. It's like, I really spent that much time on Facebook this week. Oh my God. My inbox is running my life. And then it's going to tell you where you can actually start. Okay, well, I did this newsletter. I probably shouldn't have, I spent 3 hours on the newsletter. I bet I can pass that off to somebody and they can take a half hour to do it,
Right.
So that's like probably for me, the most important thing that I tell people or teach people what to do when they first get started working with a virtual assistant and they have no clue where to get started.
Yeah, and we're reinventing the wheel each week instead of taking what we're doing repetitively, writing it down, like you said, and then handing it off to the VA to automize.
Right.
So that, your newsletter is all set up. All you have to do is cut and paste and plop it in.
So for me, and I know for a lot of virtual assistants, especially, and I'm sure for business coaches and stuff as well, but, and women especially, we have a hard time saying no. That's, and that creates so much overwhelm, because I know I've been in a position where, especially like in the beginning years, where I was constantly saying yes. Yes became very addictive, and I wasn't setting realistic goals and deadlines for myself. So everything was, yeah, I can do that now. Yeah, I can do that now.
Mm-hmm.
Next thing you know, I've got 30 hours of, yeah, I can do that now, that I have to get done into 8 hours. So, how do we start saying no to people?
First of all, I love Annie Lamott. Do you know her? She's an author. She has a quote, "No is a complete sentence."
It works with my kids.
Right. What I ask of my clients is if it's not a hell yes, then it's a hell no, because it's certainly not a hell maybe. So is it moving you closer to your goal? That's the key thing. And what I ask my clients who are sort of addicted to saying yes is to say, can I get back with you on that? To not say no. So it's a step in that direction. You know what? I need to check with my schedule. I'm not sure if I can fit it in. Can I get back to you? Mm-hmm. And if they say, I need to know now, then you can just simply say, well, then I'm afraid I'm going to have to say no. So that's a great way to transition into starting to say no, or starting to set up boundaries. Boundaries are here's the thing in business, we need to have boundaries, because what happens, especially as moms, is that everything else comes first. So we say yes to all these other things, and then the boundaries aren't set in place, and then 6 months to a year down the road, we're not quite sure why our business isn't doing better. Well, it's because we haven't set the boundaries and the structures in place that support us in doing what we need in order to grow our business. So when we can step back and look at that and understand that here are the boundaries that I need to have, and it's really important to have transparency with the people that you are around, whether it's your employees, your employer, your family, or whatnot, to say, I understand that this is how I've been operating, but it's not working for me anymore. This is what I need to be doing. So basically, Monday through Friday for these hours, or whatever the timing is, be very transparent and honest and saying, this is going to be my time. I need to grow my business, because it will never get to the point where we can actually start making a great deal of money if I don't set the boundaries in place to do what it takes to grow it. Right. And very transparent, so that they know. that's the time. I like to say there's sort of a toddler effect that kicks in, because if the kids are used to you always doing things or always being there, or your partner or whomever, they start to kind of kick their feet a little bit and make it uncomfortable. So you back into, okay, I'll do it. But when you remove yourself from that dance, because you've set your boundaries and you've been very transparent about, this is when I'm going to be working, that you let them dance by themselves and it's no longer fun. So they just sort of understand what those expectations are.
Yeah, boundaries are huge. And sometimes you have to reinforce them. I just had to do that the other day with a client. Say, this is how it is. This is how it works. So yeah, boundaries are huge. And if you lax on those, if you kind of let people cross the line a little bit, it's like being a parent. You give them an inch, they're going to take a mile.
Yeah, and it's totally okay to say, I understand that this is the way that we've been doing it, but it's no longer working for me, or I haven't been right about this. Mm-hmm. I don't need to take on 90% of the housework and run my business. It's just not working. So invite people into conversations about how boundaries can be set in place that work for both people. That conversation is really important. Another thing about being able to say no is, have you ever heard of the double bind?
Mm-mm.
We as women tend to be perceived as either warm or competent, but rarely both. So we either sort of dumb ourselves down and say, so we don't take on our power. We sort of let our power go, which means that our boundaries are going. Or we are, if we own our intelligence and own our power, we're often perceived as competent and cold. So it's really tough as women. And I don't know I think most of your audience is women, probably.
Probably, yeah. The majority of my audience is women.
Yeah, I have to say it hasn't been that long that we have been able to vote, drive, have a bank account. We were 100% reliant on life for somebody else. We could not drive. We could not have a bank account. We couldn't have money. We couldn't work. So we needed to be warm. We needed to be accepted. It's within our DNA to say yes. It's within our DNA to want to be liked, because when we weren't liked, 100 years ago or less, I mean, it hasn't even been, how many years has it been that we could even vote or drive? We were cast out. So it actually was a matter of life and death for us to be liked and to be perceived as warm. So we give of ourselves more than we want to, because it literally is within our DNA to do that. It was a survival mechanism, and we still have it. It's like the fight, flight, or freeze. Is it fight, flight, freeze mode that is within us as well? We still have that. It's within our DNA and how we operate. Yep. So again, approaching that when we say yes, but we don't want to, stop for a second and be very curious. Okay, what was it that made me say yes, or that didn't allow me to say no? Was it the person? Was it the circumstance? Was it a judgment about myself? To get really curious about where you're not setting your boundaries and where you're saying yes when you really want to be saying no. Who is it that you're interacting with? What is it that it's triggering within you? Mm-hmm. And then sort of understanding that helps you set those boundaries in, and then get out of that overwhelm and start taking things off from your plate.
I feel lighter already. This has been awesome. I talk about Overwhelm and I teach about Overwhelm all the time, but even I was able to pick out some new stuff out of this. So I love when I can do that. So thank you.
Good. Thank you. There's a couple of great books on the double bind, or YouTube videos and whatnot on that. It is, and it allows us to have some compassion for ourselves, because when we get into the overwhelm, we really do start beating ourselves up. Why do I do this? Why can't I, make this happen? Why is it that my business isn't where it wants to be? And we start judging ourselves, and that overwhelm gets into this vicious cycle.
Yeah, that's true.
Curiosity and compassion are a big key in moving out of overwhelm.
Right. It's and just being, what is the word? Being nurturing, being kind to yourself. You didn't get into this situation overnight. It's going to take a little bit to get back out of that situation. It's kind of like with weight loss. You didn't get overweight overnight. You're not going to lose the weight overnight, right? Same with overwhelms. You just have to be kind and okay, create a plan. this is what we're going to do to start unburying ourselves from this overwhelm.
And also realize that the actions that we took to get into the overwhelm can't be the actions that we want to take to get out of the overwhelm.
Exactly.
We need to do something different. We need to be able to get comfortable with the uncomfortable and start creating changes within our lives in order to create that lifestyle and business that we want.
I love it. I love it. Thank you so much. I really enjoyed this. Listeners, I hope you got as much out of this as I did. I've got a whole bunch of notes here, so I'm sure you probably took even more because you could scribble more than I could while I was talking. So thank you so much. And I will see you guys on the next episode.
Awesome. Thank you. Bye.
Bye.